Echoes of tears. The shuttle's calm screen flared, saturating the cramped cabin in the ghostly luminescence of the Day of Tears memorial transmission. A lugubrious orchestral lament, all mournful strings and resonant horns, filled the close quarters. On the display, the Grand Archivist, a being of enigmatic origin whose eyes resembled polished night, commenced the broadcast. Today marks the unraveling centennial. The archivist intoned, the words echoed in countless tongues. A date branded onto the soul of the galaxy. The day humankind's star dimmed, and shadows consumed the heavens. A chill prickled Alara's skin as she sat, ramrod straight. Even after a century, the annual observance felt like a reopened wound. Beside her, Jax, ever the pragmatist, manipulated the shuttle's NAV controls, his jaw clenched. He loathed these galaxy-wide displays of grief, dismissing them as hollow pageantry, futile against the ache of history. Archival footage flickered across the screen. Teeming spaceports vibrant with humans of every conceivable origin, diplomatic summits where delegates from Earth, famed for their boundless optimism, forged accords between warring factions, dazzling cultural showcases bursting with human art, music, and literature. Alara recalled stories of that era, accounts of humanity's insatiable curiosity and unwavering faith in the galaxy's inherent goodness, tales that now resonated like fables. Humanity, the archivist continued, a note of deep regret coloring his voice. Once spearheaded the Galactic Federation, their spirit a beacon illuminating the path toward a brighter cosmos. Their laughter reverberated through the halls of governance, their ingenuity conquered seemingly insurmountable obstacles, their empathy touched even the most callous hearts. Jax emitted a soft, derisive snort. Empathy? More like gullibility. Alara flashed him a warning look. She understood his bitterness, felt its corrosive touch herself, but the Day of Tears warranted a modicum of respect, even if feigned. The transmission shifted to a panoramic view of the Federation capital, a sprawling megacity encircling a binary star system. At its core, bathed in the radiant glow of twin suns, stood the Rostova monument. A towering effigy of a human woman, her face etched with immeasurable sorrow, cradling a fractured orb symbolizing the shattered harmony of the galaxy. Alara knew Rostova's history well. As the head of the human diplomatic corps, she supposedly bore witness to the very cataclysm that had broken humanity. Some whispered of betrayal, others of an unimaginable weapon. The truth, like the broken sphere, remained fragmented, elusive. Let us remember, the archivist's voice thundered, the hard-won lessons of the Day of Tears. Let us pledge to prevent such a tragedy from ever recurring. Let us venerate the fallen and the legacy of the species that once illuminated our galaxy with such brilliance. The broadcast concluded, the screen dissolving into darkness. The orchestral lament lingered, a somber tune that settled like lead in Alara's soul. Jax killed the calm screen without delay, plunging the shuttle into silence, broken only by the thrum of the engines. Uplifting, isn't it? Jax muttered, his gaze locked on the swirling nebula beyond the viewport. An annual dose of galactic guilt. Alara didn't immediately respond, her mind still haunted by the Rostova statue, the woman's agony palpable even across the vastness of space. Almost there, Jax said, shattering the quiet. To the fringe, where such guilt trips hold no sway. Alara nodded, but her eyes remained fixed on the nebula's kaleidoscopic hues. The fringe offered a refuge from the memories, the mourning, the burden of the past. But could they truly outrun the echoes of tears? She prayed they could, for both their sanity. She questioned how much longer she could bear the weight of a galaxy's grief. Or ignore the silent scream emanating from a single fractured statue. A statue depicting one of her own. The fear of forgetting how to smile haunted her mind. The Martian smile. The air in the observation dome thrummed with the barely contained animosity of two species who'd spent the last century locked in a cold war over a particularly uninteresting asteroid belt. On one side, glowering silently, stood representatives of the KRY, their chitinous faces reflecting the cold blue light of the disputed system. On the other, the plumed and vibrant ZZ Glorg, whose translator chirped with agitated clicks and whistles. Eva Rostova, captain of the Hope's Dawn, leaned forward, her smile unwavering. Now, everyone, she said, her voice echoing slightly in the sterile environment. Let's remember why we're here. Not to rehash old grievances, but to build a brighter future. Think of this asteroid belt not as a battleground, but as a shared sandbox. A low growl rumbled from the KRYL delegation. Jax Darrell, her advisor, stood a step behind her, his reptilian eyes narrowed in assessment. The KRYL, renowned for their patience and ruthlessness, were clearly not amused. The ZZ Glorg, however, seemed intrigued, their plumes twitching. Eva pressed on, undeterred. Imagine, she continued, gesturing expansively, the scientific collaborations, the resource sharing, you could name a moon after each other. The KRYL get KRYL's crater, and the ZZ Glorg. Well, you get the idea. A nervous titter escaped one of the ZZ Glorg. Even the KRYL leader, a hulking figure named Grokthar, shifted slightly. Eva seized the opportunity. Grokthar, she said, meeting his multifaceted gaze directly. Tell me, what does your people really want from this arrangement? Beyond minerals and territory? What would truly make you smile? Grokthar remained silent for a long moment, then, surprisingly, he spoke. We seek respect, he rasped, his voice like grinding stone. To be seen as more than just warriors. To contribute something of value beyond conquest. Eva nodded, her smile softening. And the ZZ Glorg? She asked, turning to the avian representatives. A high-pitched series of clicks and whistles erupted from their translator. Recognition. We wish to be acknowledged for our artistic contributions, our philosophies, not just seen as colorful birds who hoard shiny things. Then let's make that happen, Eva declared, and over the next several hours, with a deftness that both impressed and slightly unnerved Jax Darrell, she brokered a deal. The asteroid belt would become a joint research facility, dedicated to both resource extraction and artistic expression. The KRYL would contribute their engineering expertise, while the ZZ Glorg would oversee the aesthetic design of the station, incorporating their art and philosophy into its very structure. Back on the bridge of the Hope's Dawn, as the ship prepared to jump to its next destination, Jax Darrell watched Eva through narrowed eyes. You secured a surprisingly favorable outcome, Captain, he conceded. But I still question the Federation's benevolence, sending us to mediate minor squabbles while ignoring the larger currents of galactic unrest. Eva chuckled, leaning back in her command chair. Oh, Jax, always the pessimist. Sometimes, all it takes is a little optimism to remind people of their shared humanity. Or KRYL-ITY, or ZZ Glorg-ITY. Jax Darrell remained unconvinced. Humanity's capacity for optimism is admirable, Captain. But the galaxy is a harsh place. Idealism can be a liability. Eva's smile faltered momentarily. She thought of the endless Martian sky, the red dust swirling around her bare feet as she played in the hydroponics domes as a child, her mother tending to the glowing green algae. Shadows from the void. A burst of static preceded the lieutenant's frantic face on the comm screen. Repeating, Theta 9 is under assault, unknown hostiles. High-yield energy weapons. We need immediate, crackle, assistance. The screen dissolved into a blizzard of noise. Eva blinked at the dead display, the officer's desperate cry lingering in the air. 3 days. 3 Federation settlements erased. No prelude, no demands, only obliteration. The KRYL. Erase unknown until 72 hours ago, now carving their legend. Across the cosmos with searing plasma. Her console pinged. Jax Darrell. Accepting the call, she saw his usually placid reptilian features tightened with worry. Eva, you've seen the reports, haven't you? Theta 9 just winked out. She kneaded her forehead, feeling the Federation's burden settle on her shoulders. The council convenes shortly. I must attend. Understood. But heed my warnings regarding the KRYL. They are singular. Singular how? She bristled at the ambiguity. Jax cloaked everything pre-Federation in riddles. Their mindset. It's alien in a way you haven't before encountered. Don't expect them to adhere to our logic. Don't anticipate parley. The council chamber pulsed with a multitude of species. An undercurrent of trepidation thrummed in the air. Glaric, the Krogan behemoth, slammed a fist, rattling the table. Enough deliberations, a display of force is required. dispatch a fleet, scour these KRYL from existence. A chorus of agreement echoed. Eva raised a hand. With respect, Glaric, we lack intelligence. We haven't even attempted communication. Indiscriminate attacks could ignite a wider conflagration. The Eldarian ambassador, pure luminance trapped within a shimmering field, responded. Yet inaction broadcasts weakness. 3 outposts are extinguished. Panic spreads. We must project power. Frustration pricked at Eva. Projecting power. The Federation's default. But Jax's caution resonated. Asterisk, they may not adhere to our logic. Asterisk, what if force was the wrong signal? I advocate a different tack, she offered, her voice almost lost in the rising din. A small, non-threatening envoy.an olive branch.an attempt to decipher their purpose. A tidal wave of dissent surged. Unarmed, madness! Glaric bellowed. A risk, undeniably. Eva conceded. But a calculated one. We must discern their motivations, before we condemn billions to a conflict we failed to grasp. The debate escalated into a cacophony of dissenting opinions. A creeping dread iced Eva's veins. The KRYL weren't merely aggressing, they were provoking. They were sowing disarray, and she had an unsettling premonition that the Federation was stumbling into a carefully laid snare. Exiting the assembly chamber, she felt a chill. Sharper than the temperature could explain. It was the disquieting sensation of an age-old, incomprehensible force awakening in the darkness. A mission of hope. Rostova, you're wanted in high command, immediately. The calm crackled, spitting the words into Eva's quarters like venom. She straightened from studying the nebula charts, a knot tightening in her stomach. Immediately rarely heralded good news. She found the admirals arrayed around the polished conference table, their faces grim. The air hung thick with tension, a palpable thing. Admiral Chen, his usually jovial face etched with worry, cleared his throat. Captain Rostova, we've selected you to lead a diplomatic mission to the KRYL homeworld. Eva's breath itched. The KRYL? Every intelligence report painted them as ruthlessly expansionist, driven by a singular, insatiable hunger. The last 3 contact attempts ended in bloodshed. The Federation vessels vaporized before a single message could be sent. With all due respect, Admiral, that's a suicide mission. We're aware of the risks, Admiral Ito said, her voice sharp. But the potential reward is too great to ignore. If we can establish peaceful contact, it could avert a galactic war. Why me? Eva asked, searching their faces. Chen offered a weary smile. Your success in the Volan Accords. Your ability to see past the surface. We need someone who can find common ground, even with the KRYL. Later, aboard the Hope's Dawn, Eva found Jax Darrell in the observation lounge, gazing out at the swirling starfield. Jax, a reptilian xenolinguist, was her most trusted advisor, a voice of reason steeped in ancient wisdom. Jax, what do you make of this KRYL assignment? Jax turned, his golden eyes clouded with concern. Captain, the KRYL, they are unlike anything we have encountered. Their minds are a labyrinth of hunger and conquest. I have studied their fractured communications. They speak of the great devouring, a destiny they cannot escape. Destiny? Eva scoffed. We choose our destinies, Jax. Perhaps, Jax hissed, a plume of vapor escaping his nostrils. But the KRYL, their destiny may be written in their very DNA. I sense a darkness, Captain, a chilling emptiness at their core. Be wary of promises, of alliances. The KRYL only understand consumption. He placed a scaled hand on her arm. Trust your instincts, Eva, and listen to the silence between their words. It speaks volumes. Eva nodded, a shiver running down her spine despite the warmth of the lounge. I will, Jax. I promise. The Hope's Dawn, a beacon of peace in a sea of stars, slid into warp. The blue streaks painted the viewport as they accelerated toward the KRYL homeworld. Eva stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the distant destination. Hope, she knew, was a fragile thing, easily shattered. But it was all they had. The fate of the galaxy might rest on her shoulders. And the terrifying possibility that no species will ever forget the day humans lost their smile. Ambush. The KRYL homeworld hung in the viewport, a bruised purple globe swirling with atmospheric storms that crackled with visible energy. Eva Rostova ran a hand through her close-cropped hair, the gesture betraying a tension she kept carefully masked from the rest of the crew. Entering KRYL airspace. All hands brace for initial scans. Jax Darrell, his scaled neck ridge shimmering with anxiety, approached from the bridge's observation deck. Captain, I still have a premonition. Something feels profoundly wrong. Jax had been invaluable deciphering KRYL vocalizations from the captured drone recordings, but his sensitivity to alien psychic signatures was less reliable, more impressionistic. Still, Eva valued his insights. We've run every simulation, Jax. The KRYL invited us. The Federation Council has authorized this mission. Eva forced a reassuring smile. We're bringing an olive branch, not a warship. Before Jax could reply, a piercing alarm shrieked through the Hope's dawn. The viewport flared crimson as energy weapons fire slammed into the ship's shields. Weapons lock, shields down to 60%. Lieutenant Park's voice was tight with controlled panic. Evasive maneuvers, return fire. Eva's command was cut short as another volley struck, this time bypassing the shields entirely. The ship bucked violently. A console near Park exploded in a shower of sparks, momentarily blinding him. Hull breach, decks 2 and 3, life support failing. Jack stumbled, grabbing onto a railing for support. His reptilian eyes widened in horror. They're not communicating. This is a trap. Eva wrestled with the navigation controls, trying to regain control of the crippled vessel. The Hope's Dawn, never built for combat, was bleeding atmosphere and energy at an alarming rate. It was a sitting duck. Hail them again! Use the universal translator! Eva barked, though she knew it was futile. The KRYL ships, sleek and menacing, maintained their relentless barrage. Another explosion rocked the bridge. This time, Eva felt a searing pain in her arm, followed by a sickening numbness. The air grew thin, biting at her lungs. Captain, we're losing power! Park gasped, his face pale. Engines offline, we're going down! The Hope's Dawn plummeted through the KRYL atmosphere, trailing smoke and debris. Eva blacked out just as the ship slammed into the alien surface. Eva awoke to darkness and the acrid stench of burning metal. Her head throbbed, and her arms screamed in protest. She was strapped into her command chair, surrounded by wreckage. A guttural chattering filled the air. KRYL. She tried to move, but restraints held her fast. Her vision cleared, revealing grotesque, insectoid figures surrounding her. Their chitinous bodies gleamed in the dim light emanating from their weapons. Weapons trained directly on her. Jax was nearby, also restrained, his face etched. With a mixture of fear and resignation. He met Eva's gaze, his expression conveying a single, chilling truth. The KRYL had never intended to negotiate. A KRYL officer, distinguished by its larger size and elaborate carapace markings, approached. It tilted its head, studying Eva with cold, multifaceted eyes. Then, with a gesture, it signaled its soldiers. They advanced, their weapons humming with deadly energy. The Federation's hope for peace had crashed and burned, leaving only the cold reality of war. The price of optimism. Ozone and the metallic tang of fear saturated the air in the KRYL observation chamber. Bioluminescent restraints, like luminous serpents, constricted Jax Darrell, their touch searing his skin. From the adjacent chamber, a hacking cough, ragged and wet, echoed, EVA.no need to witness the KRYL scientists, their chitinous exoskeletons gleaming in the sickly light. To grasp the horror unfolding. He wrenched his gaze from the pulsating, organic conduits that webbed the ceiling. He refused to yield. Not here. Not now. Beyond the clear partition stood Zorgon 7. The Overseer, a polished obsidian obelisk, loomed against the lab's lurid green ambience. Its multifaceted eyes, gems of dark intellect, remained fixed on Eva, bound to a contraption disturbingly reminiscent of her command chair, torn wholesale from the dauntless bridge. A slender, metallic tendril throbbed against her temple. Zorgon 7 inclined its head in a subtle, almost imperceptible gesture. Augment the intensity. The words, a frigid drone delivered directly into Jax's mind, were devoid of warmth. The coughing intensified, punctuated by strangled gasps. Impotent rage surged through Jax. He struggled to focus, to project some fragment of fortitude toward Eva, but the restraints felt like active leeches, draining his very essence. Subject Rostova displays resilience, Zorgan 7 observed, its unwavering gaze locked on Eva. Despite the imposed neural trauma, her inherent optimism remains pronounced. Intriguing. A KRYL technician, the smaller of the insected species, skittered forward, its mandibles clicking a nervous rhythm. Overseer, the subject's neural pathways exhibit unforeseen resistance. The emotional dampening protocols prove inadequate. Inadequate? A hint of something akin to disappointment, were such a thing possible, laced Zorgan 7's tone. Humans are governed by emotion. Pinpoint the locus. Isolate it. We must comprehend this. Optimism. A glacial dread seeped into Jax's bones. They weren't just inflicting pain. They were vivisecting her spirit. He squeezed his eyes shut, summoning images of the dawnless, the shared laughter, the kinship. He clung to those memories, a fragile bulwark against the encroaching darkness. Eva's voice, thready but unbroken, cut through the oppressive silence. You won't break us. Zorgan 7 remained unmoved. The records suggest otherwise. Your history is a tapestry woven with threads of internal strife, betrayal, and self-inflicted wounds. Your optimism is a fallacy, a brittle construct easily shattered. It's not a fallacy. Eva choked out, her voice raw. It's hope, something beyond your grasp. The facets of Zorgan 7's eyes seemed to sharpen. Hope. An irrational expectation of a favorable outcome despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. An evolutionary anomaly. A pause. Perhaps it can be extracted. Nausea gripped Jax. A chilling certainty washed over him. They would attempt to excise that vital spark, and with a desperate, unwavering core of conviction, he knew they would ultimately fail. He had to believe it, because if they extinguished Eva, they would shatter them all. The vanishing smile. The humming was the worst. A constant, low thrum that vibrated through the metal floor and up into Eva's bones, a physical manifestation of the KRYL's oppressive presence. It resonated with the fading echoes of Jax's screams, now reduced to ragged gasps. She strained against the energy binders, their blue light biting into her wrists. Hold on, Jax, she whispered, her voice hoarse. We'll get out of this. We always do. Her words felt flimsy, a paper shield against a neutron star. Jax, usually a roaring inferno of defiance, lay slumped in his restraints, his carapace dull with sweat, his eyes wide with a fear she hadn't thought him capable of feeling. He didn't respond, and the silence was a crushing weight. She remembered him laughing, boasting of his prowess in the zero-G arena back on Xylos. The gleam of victory in his multifaceted eyes. They'd shared a celebratory drink, something thick and purple. That tasted of nebula dust and ambition. A lifetime ago. Zorgan 7, the KRYL overseer, tilted its multifaceted eyes, the lenses reflecting the cold, sterile light of the detention cell. Your attempts at solace are inefficient. It rasped, the vocoder mangling the words into something both mechanical and chillingly intimate. Hope is a virus. We are here to administer the cure. Another wave of the humming intensified. Eva squeezed her eyes shut, picturing the faces of her crew, the grins, the shared jokes, the camaraderie forged in the crucible of deep space. Each face felt like a flickering candle in a gathering storm. She remembered Liam, the ship's engineer, perpetually covered in grease and humming some awful Earth pop song while coaxing another light year out of their aging engines. And Anya, the navigator, her fingers dancing across the console as she charted courses through uncharted nebulae, her brow furrowed in concentration. Zorgan 7 moved closer, its spindly limbs clicking against the metal floor. Do you feel it, Rostova? The doubt creeping in? The erosion of your spirit? Eva swallowed, her throat raw. She did feel it. The gnawing uncertainty, the insidious whisper that maybe, just maybe, this time was different. Maybe this time, they wouldn't make it. Maybe the KRYL were right. Maybe hope was a weakness. We faced worse. She managed, clinging to the words like a lifeline. We're survivors. But even as she spoke, she saw the flicker of doubt in Jax's eyes. And in her own reflection, distorted in the polished surface of Zorgan Seven's carapace, the smile was vanishing. Fading like starlight swallowed by a black hole, she squeezed her eyes shut again, desperately trying to recall the feeling of genuine joy, the unshakable belief in a better tomorrow. It was getting harder to find. A final transmission. Her fingers, swollen and barely responsive, grappled with the crude transmitter. A salvaged comm unit, plucked from a wrecked KRYL scout ship, cobbled together with scavenged wires and a silent plea. Each adjustment sent stabs of agony through her broken frame, pain she banished to the periphery of her awareness. Point 1 message. Point 1 last chance. Ready yet, human Rostova? Zorgan Seven's voice, a grating blend of chitinous clicks and digitized noise, bounced off the cavern walls. A few paces away, his multifaceted eyes glittered in the eerie luminescence of KRYL fungi clinging to the rock. Amusement dripped from his tone, undisguised. Eva spat, the coppery tang of blood coating her tongue. Almost. Just a moment. He offered no reply, radiating a predator's patience. He understood her motives. He had permitted this final, insignificant act of rebellion before the end. Eva wrestled for focus, struggling to sharpen her thoughts through the fog of pain and encroaching despair. She activated the transmitter. A faint whine cut through the silence. Federation frequencies. Her lifeline. This is Eva Rostova. She rasped, her voice a threadbare whisper. If anyone's listening, please, heed my words. She swallowed, resisting the ragged cough tearing at her throat. The KRYL, they are not conquerors. They are erasers. They seek not dominion, but obliteration. They perceive life, beauty, individuality, as a contagion. An aberration. Her breath itched raggedly. We attempted parley. We extended the hand of peace. We shared our art, our music, our very souls. They saw only weakness. A disease to be eradicated. She paused, marshalling her remaining strength. Do not seek common ground. Do not attempt to fathom their purpose. It is futile. They are the negation of understanding itself. A vacuum where empathy goes to die. Fight them. Resist with all you possess. Or all that you cherish, all that we are, will vanish. Tears carved paths through the grime and dried blood on her face. Tell my family, tell them I fought. I didn't yield. The transmission fractured into static. Eva sagged against the cold, sweating stone, her body racked with tremors. She had spoken her truth. Zorgan 7 drew closer, his chitinous legs clicking against the uneven floor. A poignant display, human Rostova, yet ultimately irrelevant. He raised a segmented hand. The collective is impervious to sentimentality. Your message will be intercepted, decoded, and discarded. Your federation will crumble. All will be one. Eva met his gaze, her eyes a defiant mix of fury and acceptance. You will fail. We will never surrender. Zorgan 7 inclined his head, facets glinting. Resistance is wasteful. Assimilation is the apex of triumph. You will comprehend. He indicated a waiting drone with a gesture. Prepare her for integration. Her neural architecture holds intriguing strategic insights. The drone drifted forward, its metallic limbs humming softly. Eva closed her eyes, a single conviction blazing in her mind. Our memory will endure. The galaxy weeps. The hollow projector's thrum was the sole sound piercing the Federation Council chamber's profound stillness. On the immense screen, Eva Rostova's resolute, ashen features flickered, her final transmission reverberating through the hall. The silence that followed felt like a leaden shroud, suffocating in its immensity. Then, a solitary sob tore through the air. Elder Theron, usually an unshakable pillar of composure, shielded his face with his articulated hands. Other council members mirrored his gesture, their diverse forms quaking with sorrow. Eva's ultimate sacrifice had revealed the KRYL's barbarity, shattering the Federation's meticulously crafted peace. Then came the surge of outrage. It began as a low tremor, a guttural emission from the Krovac delegate, swiftly spreading and engulfing the council like a blaze through dry brush. Enough! Councillor Vall roared, his chitinous armor shimmering with contained fury as he slammed a fist against the table. For generations, we have championed passivity, observing from our lofty perches, while worlds were consumed. A chorus of affirmation echoed through the chamber. The once sacred tenets of pacifism now felt like shackles, binding them to an action. A vote was conducted. The result was absolute unity. The declaration of war was disseminated throughout the galaxy. It was a measured pronouncement, devoid of the customary political artifice. It spoke of Eva Rostova, the KRYLL's unprovoked depravity, and the Federation's unwavering dedication to safeguarding its populations and avenging the fallen. The reaction was instantaneous. Armada upon armada, bearing the emblems of countless species, mobilized for war. The KRYL, caught unaware by the sudden, concerted assault, were driven back. But the ensuing conflict was merciless. Driven by venomous zeal, the KRYL fought with a ferocity that knew no bounds, their ships a swarm of maddened hornets, their weaponry engineered for maximum annihilation. Every triumph was dearly bought, every reclaimed planet stained crimson. In the wake of the initial offensives, the Federation established the Day of Remembrance. It was not a festivity, but a time for solemn reflection, to commemorate the KRYL's victims, to ponder the true cost of freedom, and to vow never to repeat the errors of the past. On that day, every sentient being within the Federation, regardless of origin or faith, observed a moment of shared silence at precisely the same instant. A galactic acknowledgement of the abyss the KRYL had unleashed. On the Federation's capital world, gracing the edge of the Grand Council Plaza, stood a monument to remembrance. It depicted Eva Rostova, not in a triumphant pose, no weapon in hand, no army at her back, but simply standing, her countenance bearing an imprint of quiet fortitude. The sculptor had managed to evoke the memory of a smile, a faint echo of the joy stolen from her, and from all humankind. The statue was forged from a newly discovered alloy, capable of absorbing ambient light and returning it as a soft azure glow. At night, the statue emanated a tranquil luminescence, a beacon cutting through the encroaching shadows. It was an enduring memento of their bereavement, the price they were forced to pay, and the unyielding resolution to ensure no other civilization would ever endure a similar fate. It was a reminder of lost laughter, and the fierce commitment to safeguard the remaining vestiges of joy.